Hi everyone, welcome back to DIY Beauty on Purpose. My name is Leah Nepp, and this channel is fully dedicated to crafting, flips, and DIY home decor. If you're visiting for the first time, I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope you love what you see. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. If you can see, I have my new hat. This hat is going to be one of my new merch, so stay tuned for that. It's going to come out in 2 colors, and I'll make sure to let you know when it's going to be out on my Etsy shop. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited for that. Today I have for you 10 amazing DIYs. They are made with wood, and they are just fantastic, very festive, and great for Christmas. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. For this DIY, I am going to take one of these 12 by 16 flat canvas that I got actually at Five Below. I haven't been to Five Below in a very long time, and I found some goodies there, including these canvases. I've never seen them this large at the Dollar Tree, and you got 3 for $5. I'm going to give it just one coat of regular, I think this was chalk paint, the new chalk paint at Walmart. I'm just going to give it one coat and let it dry. Using my Cricut, I cut out the phrase, "True love was born in a manger," which I think is very beautiful for Christmas, and I couldn't agree more. And then I'm just going to apply it right there towards the center, but just a little bit towards the bottom as well as towards the right side of the canvas. Now I'm going to stencil it using a makeup sponge and Dixie Belle chalk paint in the kudzu color.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe, and I've gotten you a present.
I am now going to take these 1x3s that I already had on hand, and I cut them about 2 inches wider, so they're about 14 inches long. I just wanted it to be a little bit wider than the canvas. I'm just going to hot glue it here at first, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to staple it on the back. That way it's going to be very secure.
Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
I do want to remind you that I have an Instagram page that I post daily, multiple times a day. I'd love to connect with you there. Check it out. I do have the link down below in the description box. I am going to drill a couple of holes on the top piece of wood towards the ends of each one. That way we can thread some rope here in just a minute. This is just regular jute twine that I already had on hand. I'm going to I think I double knot it, to make sure that it's not going to come off. And I didn't leave too much of a hanging rope because it didn't need to be hanging that much. So then I'm going to take some greenery and some just florals that I already had on hand. I'm going to place some of these evergreen picks that I got on Amazon, as well as some that I got at Dollar Tree last year. And I'm going to staple them in place. And then I'm going to start hot gluing some of these frosted berries that I got. I believe this was from Dollar General, but I could be wrong. It could be from Dollar Tree. I did get them last year. They were left over on my Christmas stash. So I'm just going to hot glue them in place here in the center. And then it's time to start adding a bow. I am going to use a ribbon that I recently got at Dollar Tree. It's a red truck ribbon, and I'm just going to make a 4-loop bow. Very simple. And then I'm going to take another piece of the ribbon. I'm going to fold it in half, and that's going to be what I tie the bow with in the middle. I'm going to make a very simple knot in the back and then cut off the excess. And I'm going to fluff it up just a little bit and then hot glue it on the center of the arrangement. And then I'm going to take some of these wooden snowflakes that I got at Dollar Tree this year. Was it Dollar Tree? I think so. And then I am going to just hot glue them one on each side just to kind of match the wood tone from the wood panels. And I just think it looks gorgeous. I'm going to give you a look here with a little more of an ambience look with lights and candles on, and I think it looks stunning.
Everything will be okay, 'cause all I want.
All right, so we are out here in my garage. I am going to cut. This is a 1x6. I usually, like I've always said, I usually keep several of 1x6s or maybe 1x4s or 1x2s. on hand to be able to do my DIYs. And this is a 1x6, and I am going to cut 2 pieces, maybe around like this, 14 inches maybe long, and I'm going to cut 2 of them, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Once I had the piece cut, I am going to be using my Kreg jig. A Kreg jig is a tool that you can purchase. It helps you make pocket holes in wood, and that way you can join 2 pieces of wood with a very strong joint, and I love using them. I am also going to take some of the pocket hole screws and just going to join the 2 together. I am going to start drilling it. It's going to separate a little bit, and it'll suck right back in when it's tightening, and then that way it'll have a nice strong joint. Screw in the other 2, and then after that we'll have a nice, beautiful, strong joint and a board to work with. And then I did sand it just to make sure everything is smooth and no splinters are going to be anywhere. And I did sand the back as well, so that way the pocket holes that are splintery will be softened or smooth. I'm going to take this little stencil that I have had for a while now. I honestly don't know where I got it. Maybe Dollar Tree? I'm not sure. But I'm going to trace the little tree on the corner, and then I'm going to use my Dremel tool that I just recently got for my anniversary gift. I love it. I've been wanting it for a while. My husband got it for me, and I couldn't be any happier. So this is the very first time me using it, and there's a learning curve. I'm not going to lie, but I think overall I really love the versatility and how good it is. And then I decided to just paint the inside of the tree using this Dixie Belle Kudzu paint. Again, I just love the color, and then I did use a little bit of yellow for the star. I'm going to spray with this matte clear by Rust-Oleum just the little tree portion of it, and then I'm going to seal everything with polyurethane. But I'm going to do that because sometimes the paint kind of like reactivates and get like soft again, and then it spreads when you seal it. So I'm just going to spray it a little bit with this and then let that dry, and then I'll seal everything with a polyurethane. And this is the top coat that I use. It's by Varathane, and it is in the crystal clear. I get it at Home Depot, and I usually use it for furnitures that I flip. I actually did 2 coats on this piece. I did 1 coat, let it dry, then I lightly sanded it, and then I did a 2nd coat, and then let it dry. This is just so it's nicely safe and smooth to the touch. I am going to show you this one after I do this DIY because they kind of go together. So for this DIY, I'm going to take 3 strands of this jute twine, and I am going to tape them to my workstation here, and then braid them, a very easy braid, and then tape both ends to make sure they're not going to fray on me. I quickly want to let you know that I do have memberships available now for my channel, so if you want to learn more about these memberships, check out the link down in the description box. I'd love to connect with you even more. I am then going to take a little piece of this toilet paper roll that I am just going to hot glue right onto the braid. We're going to make a little napkin ring. So I'm just going to start hot gluing it, and then I am going to cut off the excess and hot glue the ends just as good as I can, even though we are going to be covering it up. Now you can use a paper towel roll. You can use whatever you want. You can actually leave just the braid as is. I just thought having a little bit more of a support underneath was a good choice for me. I am going to take some more of the jute twine, and I'm just going to wrap it around the seam area. Those braids or the little frayed ends were not sticking very well, so I did want to have them nicely secure. And we're also going to be hot gluing some decor, so this was a great base for that decor. So once I had that rolled onto the ring, I'm going to take some of these evergreen picks that I do get on my Amazon store. A lot of the supplies that I'm mentioning today, including the Kreg jig, I do have on my Amazon store. So check it out. It is linked down below. All right, so again, we're just hot gluing and adding some greenery picks as well as these little berries. And we're just going to hot glue and kind of stick them right inside the jute twine there. And then I'm going to take one more of those wooden snowflakes just to tie again everything together, and I think it matches the plate charger very nicely. And I'm just going to hot glue it right on top, and as promised, I'm going to show you what everything looks like together, and I think it looks stunning. It's bright, it's fresh, so natural looking, but again festive, and I just love how they both look together.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down. We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light. While we're dancing.
For this next DIY, I am going to take this piece of wooden that was in my garage. It's a little bowed, as you can tell. So I'm just going to I cut out a piece. It is about 14 inches long as well. And then I'm just going to sand it down smooth because it did have some dirt and grime and just splinters. So I want to make sure it's going to be clean and splinter free. And then I am going to give it a one coat of the Kutsu Green Dixie Belle paint. I am basically just going to do one coat because we are going to sand it down and give it more of a farmhouse look. And I'm not going to do the edges. I'm just going to do the top. And then once it was dry, I did sand it down, focusing more on the edges. Again, just to give it that little bit more of a farmhouse look. I am now going to drill 2 holes on each side. This is where we're going to place some jute twine in a little bit to be able to carry it. We're making a little Santa tray. So a little tray that you can leave outside for Santa with cookies, milk, and some carrots from the reindeer. So I saw something like this on Pinterest and I thought it'd be really cute to recreate my own here for my kiddos. So again, just drilling the holes, making sure they're all on the same kind of side, and I'm measuring to make sure they're kind of even, and then sanding it down just a little bit because they do leave splinters. Using my Cricut, I designed a little tray design here, and I'm just going to place it right on top of the tray. Going to apply it here with this transfer tape, and then going to start stenciling. I do use a makeup sponge to stencil it. I am going to use white, black, red, and green. I don't know if you noticed, but the For Santa, it's missing the A's. I have no clue what happened. Something happened, but I didn't notice until after I placed it. So I'm going to have to freehand the A's, and they did not turn out as cute as I wanted it. I guess I just didn't pick the right brush. So I didn't quite like that part, but I left it as is because, you know, sometimes things are not perfect and I'm okay with that. Plus, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to do all that. Anyways, for the little holly here, I'm going to use some red and some darker green by Artisa here just to kind of add a little bit of color. And then we're just going to remove the vinyl right off a bit, and I think it's always so satisfying. This is the part where I freehand the A's, and again, I didn't like it, but it is what it is. It's fine. And I did spray the top with the top coats here from Rust-Oleum. I gave it one pretty heavy coat, and that's all I did for this one actually. I just left that one coat, but it was pretty heavy. Let it dry. Then I threaded some jute twine here on each side, knotted on the bottom, cut off the excess ends, and that's it. This one turned out super cute. I love that I'm going to keep this one actually, and that we get to use it year after year. And I think it's just a fun one. I really love this one. So I'm glad I got inspired by one I saw on Pinterest. For this next DIY, I'm going to take this cutting board that I thrifted, and we're going to give it two coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white, but we're going to give that only on the top. So I'm going to do the outward motion brushing. That way we're not going to drip any on the sides. And it's just a little technique that I use, a little trick that I use if I want to keep like the sides original color. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to sand it down using a 120 grit sandpaper and my palm sander to give it more of a farmhouse style look. And then once it was nicely sanded and dusted, it's time to add some embellishments. I'm just going to take some of these Dollar Tree, I think they're like garland ties, and we're just going to cut them in about half. And then we're going to make a little arrangement using ribbon, lamb's ears, some berries, and then we're just going to hot glue it to the neck of the handle. Then I'm going to take one of these joy signs, or not signs, ornaments from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to hot glue it right to the bottom right corner of the cutting board. And that's it for this one. I think this one turned out stunning. Beautiful farmhouse, very crisp and clean, but festive and very farmhouse. Love it. For this next DIY, I'm going to take two of these spindles that I recently thrifted at the Habitat for Humanity, and I'm going to start marking where I want to cut. I want to make some extra large farmhouse style ornaments for my tree. So I'm going to mark and then cut it using my miter saw. Once I had them cut, it's time to just add some white paint. This is Rust-Oleum chalk paint and the linen white. I'm going to give them a very rough two coats. You know, I'm not looking for perfection because I am going to be distressing them. And because the spindles are kind of round, sometimes it's better to just distress them by hand. So I did use a sandpaper and I just distressed them by hand. That way you just make those little round areas, ridges, just kind of pop and have a lot more of a farmhouse style look. And because these are going to be ornaments, I want to have something to hang them from. So I am going to drill a hole right on top of each. I'm just going to choose which I want, which side I want to be the top. And then we are going to screw in some eye hooks. That way we'll have something to hang it from. I am then just going to add some red little rope here that I had on hand. This is where we're going to hang the ornaments from. And I did want to add a little bit of embellishments and a little bit of color. So I'm going to take some more of those garland ties and I'm just going to wrap it around a couple of them just to add, again, just a little bit of texture and color. So I'm going to kind of switch it up. I'm going to add the garland ties to these and then some berries right in the center just to make it more festive. For the next two, I am going to take some of this Merry Christmas ribbon from the Dollar General. I'm going to make two simple bows, tie it in the center, and then I'm going to place them on the top of each of these two ornaments. For the next two, I am going to take some of this ticking stripe ribbon also from the Dollar General. I'm going to make a couple simple bows. Once again, place them on the top of each of these ornaments. I also decided to add one lamb's ear to each, again, just to add a little bit more texture and color. So I'm just going to hot glue it underneath the bow. And that's it for these. I love the way these ornaments turned out. I used some on my tree and they're just stunning. They're hardcore, very durable farmhouse style ornaments, and they're large, and I love when ornaments are large. For the next DIY, I am going to take these two pieces of wood. One of them is a leftover scrap piece of wood from a drawer, and the other one is a 1x8, I believe, that I already had on hand, and I'm going to just paint them using Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. And then I am going to distress them again using my palm sander and a 120 grit sandpaper. And then we're going to take some of this vintage style kind of ribbon. I just love the color. It's very vintagey. And then I am going to wrap it around like they are gifts and then secure it in the back with some hot glue. And I'll do the same thing to the other one.
It was the night before Christmas. I was closing down for business in my little present shop. When the
I am then going to take these little bells from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take Antiquing Wax by Waverly, and I'm going to just start dabbing it right on top. This is to kind of make them look a little bit more dingy, a little bit more vintage, like they've been around for a while, because otherwise the gold looks very bright and new. And I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. And now it's time to start adding some embellishments just to make them look a little bit more festive. These ornaments are from the Dollar General. I believe so. Yes, I think so. I'm going to also distress them just a little bit by antiquing them with antiquing wax, just dabbing it. I'm going to do that to both ornaments, and that way, again, it just kind of goes with the look. I'm going to take some more of those garland ties, and I'm going to cut them in half. Once again, this is just going to add some greenery, some texture, and then we're just going to start putting everything together on each gift box.
But somehow I knew, and maybe so did you, that everything would change from now on.
And we are just about done with this one, and I think they turned out stunning. I love them. They have a very vintage style look. They're scrap pieces of wood and some dollar store items. How can you go wrong with these? For this next DIY, I'm going to take another one of these scrap pieces of wood. I have no clue where this one came from, but it was large. It's like a 1x12, and I cut it to a size where it's more like maybe 14 inches long. I gave it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white, and then I'm going to place some painter's tape in each corner in an angle, and that way it's going to give me 2 stripes on each side or on each corner, and I'm going to use Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the farmhouse red.
Let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Once the lines were dry, I am going to stencil. This stencil is from a pack that I got. I believe it was at Dollar Tree, but again, I could be wrong. I am going to stencil it right on the kind of like the bottom right corner, and I'm going to use a combination of some paint markers here and paints, and just to make it festive and nice.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a
And again, we are
good
going to distress it using my palm sander and a 120 grit sandpaper. Now, when I sanded it, it kind of spread the paint. It was dry, it's just, it's dusty. So I was like, no, I kind of panicked for a minute, but I left it. Sometimes things don't turn out perfect in the way I want, but wait until you see the end result. I think it kind of added a little bit more of a farmhouse vintage look. I don't know why I think that, but I think it turned out super cute. I'm sealing it with polyurethane here. I'm going to give it a couple coats because I want this to be a little serving tray. So I wanted to make sure that it was secure and sealed. Now I'm going to take two of these very old handles that I got off of a dresser that I have no clue where I got it from, but I just had them on hand. I marked where I needed to drill some holes, and then we are going to place a couple screws, and that way we can put one handle on each side.
Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the windows in the rain is
I
pouring.
did put some felt pads on the bottom of the tray because those screws would be exposed to any surface, and we don't want any surface scratched. And that's it. Look how beautiful this one turned out. I think it's stunning. I think it's very vintage farmhouse style look. And again, just piece of scrap wood, some Christmas decor that anyone can make. And you don't have to use these handles, of course. You can use any handles you
Always
have on
been
hand.
Christmas in my heart, but this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels
For the
in the
next DIY, I'm going to take two of these leftover legs that I took off of an old sewing machine little table, and I just didn't want to get rid of them. I thought they were hardwood and they're just very good quality. So we are going to take them and we are going to cut them right there using my miter saw. Then we're going to take these little leftover little spindles that I got from an old table. I kept them because I thought they were so cute. And I am going to drill a hole on the big pieces or the legs, the same size as the little dowel that you see on each end. So I got to figure out what size of drill bit I need to use to match this size of dowel. So I'm going to take out my drill bit set and kind of just start looking at what I need and which one would be thick enough because I just want to make a little ladder with these pieces of scrap wood. So I'm going to start pulling out some of the drill bits and just kind of comparing them to the size of the dowel. Then it's time to start measuring where I want to place holes. And of course, it's going to be a ladder. So I really want to make sure that each hole on each side of the ladder is going to be evenly drilled. So I found a drill bit that measures, or I think it's going to work. And I'm going to start drilling holes all the way down the two legs. I'm going to go one by one, start widening the holes and making sure each dowel is going to fit. So it took me a little while, but it's so worth it. To place the little spindles inside, I did put a lot of wood glue to right in the hole. And that way, when you put the dowel in there, it's going to be completely secure. Now, it's not like this ladder is going to hold a person's weight. It's just decorative. But I don't want it to fall apart either because I do want to sell it. So I'm going to take my hammer and I'm just going to start placing each little spindle on each side. And then what was hard was you needed to then put the other side on top. It took me a while. This was not an easy DIY, but again, it was so worth it. All right, so now I'm going to take some more of that Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the Farmhouse Red, and I'm just going to start painting it. I'm going to give it 2 coats of it and then let it dry, and then we're going to distress it. That way, again, it just has a little bit more of a farmhouse style look. Instead of sandpaper, we are going to be using the wet distressing technique, which basically you take a wet rag and then just start distressing it. Just start, removing some of the paint in the corners and the edges and all the details. This is so that the wood itself does not get scratched. And it's such tight area, I thought just the wet distressing would work better. I wanted to make a little wreath here for my next DIY, and I'm going to show you how it looks at the end with the ladder because it's going to go together with the ladder. This is a very simple way of making a Christmas little wreath. You're going to take some of these garland from the Dollar Tree. This was, I think, half of one. And just roll it around a couple of times to make it a little thicker. And then just kind of twine it in between each. And then just kind of twist it until you have the wreath. And then just kind of fluff it a little bit. I'm going to add some really cute pine cones here from the Dollar Tree and some of these frosted pigs that I got at Dollar General. And again, it's going to be very simple Christmas wreath because it's going to hang right on the ladder. I'm going to hot glue everything in place, and then you're going to see everything together, and I think you're going to love it. We are just done, so we're going to hang the little wreath from the ladder, and look how beautiful it looks. It's just festive. It could be used more than just at Christmas time. By removing the wreath, you can use it for 4th of July, Valentine's Day, so many great purposes, but I think for Christmas it's absolutely beautiful. This is it for today, my friend. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope that it inspires to create your own Christmas decor all on a budget, especially using wood scraps. How great is that? I am going to have a playlist here. This video here, I want you to click on it. You're going to love what you see. You're going to get tons more of inspiration. And until next time, have a blessed day. Bye.